let's set some goals for a good company presentation. Number one would be a high visual impact. Now, there are people that use presentation books or flip books, and when they're done exceptionally well, they can still be effective. Yet, the majority of the industry and forward-thinking people are starting to use and have been using smaller laptops and now today iPad presentations that add tremendous visual impact. The goal is also to increase rapport. Now, David talked about rapport and trust, and sometimes he tells a story about the most important ingredient in the sale being trust, and how a person will never say that they did not trust the contractor. They did not trust him at all. But I wrote him a check for 10 grand and bought from him. That doesn't happen, does it? So we want to continue through the proper company presentation and selling your company and establishing value. And I kind of call this selling the intangible, the value, because you can't give them a handful of your company. You can put a shingle in their hand or a bathroom or a piece of material from a wall system or a faucet or all kinds of stuff you can put in your hand. So this is an intangible, but you got to sell it and get real dollar worth so that you can separate and elevate your company from everybody else that's out there. So that when you're done, they want to buy from you and your company. And they don't know what it cost, but they want to buy from you and your company. Another goal in the presentation is to build in what you've heard a little bit about so far yesterday and today, and that's post-negative suggestions and embedded commands. And we also want to script and plan power words versus neutral words. You've heard one of the greatest linguistics I know in America today, and you've heard the power of interesting and communicative words that carry power. And when the script is presented properly and powerful words are used, it makes not a little difference, but a substantial difference. A great presentation includes, in selling the company story, it includes a thing called cue lines. How many of you know what I mean when I just say cue lines? Anybody? How many of you? Nobody? Not one person. A cue line is a little message that helps present your theme or your thought to the prospect, but what it really does, it aids the salesperson in what they're going to say and how and where they're going. And what it does, it helps newer salespeople be more effective and appear and be comfortable in staying in order and on track as if they're a far more experienced salesperson. And this design and including the cue lines helps experienced salespeople even do better. And one of the other elements, too, that's important is to make sure in our presentation that we're complying with laws and regulations and doing business. And one of those, in every state in the United States, is the 3-day right to rescind. Now, not everybody knows that the law requires that presentation be both made visually as well as orally. It's that Federal Trade Commission. And then each state has their tiny little variations on the theme that cannot undercut the federal. But in some states, and many, and someone told me in almost all, that there's a requirement at some point to have a signature for an acknowledgement that it was given. And we have found by putting it in the presentation early and letting people know that we have so much credibility that we let you know about this right. We're not afraid of this right, and we comply with all the state, local, and federal laws. And it's simply right here, and then we just move on. And so what happens is later when we're doing paperwork, we don't have to make a big deal out of it, and we certainly don't have to hide from it, right? We just simply say, oh, we just got a little paperwork here. You remember earlier when we talked about the Federal Trade Commission rules? We take care of all those little things.